My name is Bill Morton. I am a Colombian missionary priest, and I've been here in the border of Juarez and El Paso for about 11 years. 8 of those years I worked in Juarez in a place called Anapra, Rancho Anapra, and for 3 years I lived some of the time and I ministered full-time in Lomas del Poleo, and that's how I'm familiar with the situation. I think the reason we're here is to look at the topic of despojo, or people losing their land, forcibly being kicked off their land. So I was asked to just give a little bit of a context about what's happening. You're seeing pictures, you're meeting people, you're going to get a lot of information, but there's just some very fundamental things that it's good to understand before you hear the testimony or see the full video. First of all, in Mexico, in the Mexican Constitution and in the Civil Code of Law for the state of Chihuahua, it says that any Mexican citizen who peacefully occupies property for 5 years with the intention of becoming the owner of the property, and they don't use any violence to acquire the property, and they have public possession of the property. In other words, they live on it. Neighbors say, sí, yo conozco a ella, siempre está en su casa. There are people who can say, I know you live there. Maybe you have receipts from water or electricity. And then the last condition is, during those 5 years, the owner never comes to you and says, oh, Father Bill, I'm sorry, this is my land. Here's my title. See, this is my land. You're going to have to go. According to the law and the Constitution of Mexico, if those conditions are met, that person is supposed to get a title to that land. So we have a situation in Lomas del Poleo where Luis Urbina in 1974 began to occupy that land. And Luis Urbina went to the federal Mexican government, to the Reforma Agraria. He went to the Zaragoza family. He spoke to everybody, and he got permission to go and to live up there. And then he invited other people, and a community began to grow. It was not until 1992, when NAFTA is in the pipeline, development is in the air, all of a sudden, the Zaragoza family began to have a big burning desire to get this land. So they got their lawyers, of which they have many, and probably many of the best in Juarez, to go to the civil courts to try to expel Luis Urbina and these other people from the land in 1992. Every single attempt that they made failed. Basically, without getting into legal technicalities, the judges said yes to the Zaragozas. They said, yes, you have these titles from 1963 when your father, Pedro Zaragoza Vicarias, purchased this land from this widow. You have these titles, yes, but the people have possession of the land. So there was kind of an impasse. And that impasse lasted until the year 2003. In the year 2003, people who were in the community that I knew, like Petra and many other people from Anapra and Lomas del Poleo, they began to say to me that the Zaragozas are going to send electric trucks up onto the mesa and rip out all of the infrastructure of the electricity. And I didn't believe it. I said, no, that's puros rumores, es imposible. ¿Cómo es posible para sacar la infraestructura de la luz de una comunidad? ¿Esto es posible? Que es legal, que tiene documentación, que está auténtico con el apoyo del gobierno municipio, de la Comisión Federal de la Luz. Es imposible para sacarlo. But it was not impossible. They showed up with about 75 police trucks from the Juarez police, and about 30 big, like, construction trucks. I was up there. I watched the whole thing with my own eyes. I took pictures of it. They went around. They rolled up big, massive trucks with big spools. All the cable was wound up. Then they pulled 35, 40-foot high cement posts out of the ground and carried it off the mesa. So, I'm trying to get this land from you in court for 11 years without success. Well, I can make your life uncomfortable, can't I? So through money, through power, through corruption, through influencing a judge, all of the electric is pulled out, and so now the settlers who are living up there have no light, no fan, no refrigeration. About 4 or 5 days after they pull the electricity out, they send up the Grupo de Choque. They send up about 150, 200 men with weapons, with rocks, young ex-gang members, people on drugs, and they intimidate the people until it was actually June 9th, 2003. We had a big march to City Hall, and the city police came on Friday the 13th, and they kicked these guards off of the mesa. But from that time, from May of 2003 until this moment, there has been what I would describe as a campaign of low, generally speaking, low intensity conflict, of threats, of rumors, of corruption, and really attempts to destroy that community. And the horrible thing is that Luis Guerrero was beaten to death. Another man, Jesus, was shot. Zaragoza's own lawyer, Manuel Valderas, who was up there present at the altercation, was shot in the chest and in the stomach. They said, eyewitnesses told me, another young man who was in the Zaragoza Grupo de Choque, he fell off the back of a truck. His head was crushed. They threw him up on the truck and took him away. A couple months later, a pallet house that was owned by Magdalena, she took her oldest daughter to school, and someone came by and poured gasoline around the house, and 2 children burned to death. We can't say that anybody knew the children were in there, but we do know that the vigilante group had a systematic program of knocking down houses and trying to get people off of that land. September 11th of last year and 2 months ago, through Mario Chacon Rojo. Mario Chacon Rojo is a lawyer for the Zaragoza family. He is also, his brother was an official in the city government in Juarez. He presented a case to Mexican immigration to force me to leave Mexico. So since September 11th of last year, I have not been able to go back into Mexico. I was subpoenaed by Mexican immigration. I went in, I was asked if I function as a priest in Mexico. I said yes. They said, do you have an FM3 permit? I said no, I don't know anything about an FM3 permit. They said, well, then that's illegal. You're going to have to leave the country. But the man in immigration said, you can come back tomorrow. You can apply for a tourist visa. You can apply for the FM3. But other people on the inside in Mexico told me that there would be repercussions if I went back into Mexico. So again, in addition to what they have done on the Mesa, the reason I am here and I can't go into Mexico is directly related to the Zaragozas.